Good evening. Tonight, the two young brothers who were murdered in cold blood by unknown assailants in Kamulu, Nairobi County, have been buried today in Ndeya, Kiambu County, with the family pleading with the police to hasten the investigations into their murder. In sports tonight, the Malawi versus Kenya match 4 of the Africa Cricket Association Cup T20 kicked off in South Africa. More details to that later on in the bulletin. This is Friday with me, Karen Karimi, and tonight we have media personality and entrepreneur Terian Chebet with us in studio. I am so happy to have her tonight and talk about life after media, her businesses and motherhood. Terian, good evening.
Good evening, Karen.
Now, after having worked for several media stations and now fully focused on being an entrepreneur, how has that, change been?
Honestly, I miss the salary, I'll be honest. And
by the way,
just that knowing that at the end of the month I'm going to get X. But it's been interesting. It's been such a journey of finding my purpose. Motherhood has become, a lot more motherhood than it was, when I was in the media career. But it has been a beautiful journey, discovering or rediscovering myself, rediscovering passions. Going back to finally find my hobbies, because with the timings in the media, I sort of completely forgot what I even enjoyed to do.
Yeah.
So now I find time to work out, to dance. I love salsa. To be with my kids, I do pick up and drop off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but entrepreneurship is not easy.
Yeah,
it's not easy, but it's worth it, and it is fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. That discussion later on in the bulletin. If you have any questions for Terian, you can send them through our Facebook and Twitter page, TV47 Kenya, and my Twitter handle is @Karimi_Karen. The highlights tonight. Tonight, Azimio leader Raila Odinga calls out the president over what he says is bribing the judiciary.
There's clearly a push by the executive to own the judiciary through illegal actions that amount to bribery.
He outlines his agenda in keeping the government in check as the president welcomes the move. Also tonight, Cabinet picks top agenda of the Kenya Kwanzaa retreat in Naivasha.
We have accepted that we are not going to appoint any member of the opposition into government because we want a vibrant opposition. We want an opposition that will keep government in check.
By-elections looming as some elected leaders lined up for ministerial slots. Plus, reality of hiked fuel prices sinks as many Kenyans start feeling the pinch. The president says the storm is here to stay.
We have agreed as a government that we are not going to be subsidizing consumption.
Welcome to the program. Catherine Similoa is our sign language interpreter tonight. Now to our top story, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who doubles up as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader, now says that the ruling by the Supreme Court of Kenya was not God-inspired, but rather by the devil. According to Odinga, he is ready to play an oversight role on the reigning administration, a move that has been welcomed by President William Ruto, saying the opposition will keep them on their toes. Chepto Boyd now reports.
After weeks of uncertainty on his political trajectory following his fifth loss in his quest to become the president, Azimio leader Raila Odinga now says it is time to put the government in check, giving all indications that he is settling for the opposition. Odinga has now laid out their opposition agenda, which at the moment will focus on reforming the judiciary, the IEBC, and strengthening parliament.
1. Save the judiciary, which is offering itself for state capture. 2. Transform and reform the IBC and make it capable of conducting credible elections. 3. To stop the legislature from offering itself for state capture and have it play its oversight role over the government.
While terming the Supreme Court judgment which upheld President Ruto's win as devil-inspired and calling upon Chief Justice Martha Koome for being corrupt, Raila Odinga now says he is ready to push for judicial reforms.
Supreme Court is now in politics. And she said that the ruling was inspired by God. I believe it was inspired by the devil.
President William Ruto, while meeting Kenya Kwanza elected leaders in Naivasha, has welcomed the opposition oversight role, saying his administration is ready to be accountable.
Welcome to your oversight role. We are ready to be accountable as a government, because that will make the people of Kenya get value. We have accepted that we are not going to appoint any member of the opposition into government, because we want a vibrant opposition. We want an opposition that will keep government in check, because we have nothing to hide.
Speaking in Machakos during a meeting with Azimio elected leaders, the opposition leader now says that President Ruto's decision to appoint the 6 judges and the proposed annual allocation of 3 billion shillings to the judiciary is nothing but a scheme capture and a plain attempt to bribe the judiciary.
There's clearly a push by the executive to own the judiciary through illegal actions that amount to bribery. That is the reason for the rush to appoint 6 judges and to allocate money to the judiciary. That is the reason for the rush by the executive to allocate specific amount of money to the judiciary. Financial allocation to institutions and state agencies is done by Parliament based on a scrutiny of budget proposals presented by the institutions.
During his inauguration speech, President Ruto announced his plans to boost the judiciary's budget. Budgetary allocation to the judiciary has over the years been a thorny issue that once pushed former Chief Justice David Maraga to the edge owing to the hard economic times. Chapter GOtv 47.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga is urging members elected under Azimio allied parties not to leave the coalition as has been witnessed. Odinga seemingly curing the sibling rivalry that could come with the choosing of parliamentary leadership is urging for a united front. Flora Limuki with more.
In its first meeting after the swearing-in of President William Ruto, the Azimio Brigade, led by its leader Raila Odinga and NARC Kenya party leader Martha Karua, is planning on how to capitalize on their numbers in the August House as the setting up of committees in Parliament begins, in what could be the latest warpath between the Azimio and Kenya Kwanza factions, each boasting of a majority. Legally, according to the Political Parties Act, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party has an upper hand. However, the ruling Kenya Kwanza Alliance has gone ahead to lure members of the Azimio-affiliated parties into its corner, as well as some independents.
We come in as a coalition of parties which are coming together, but we want you people to bond. Because in Parliament, you are going to be members of Azimio One Kenya Coalition.
The early telltale signs of this poaching were the rallying of Moses Wetangula to the speakership of the National Assembly.
I mean, surely, if you cannot even raise a candidate for the Speaker of Senate, what numbers do you really have?
Key posts up for grabs are the positions of majority leaders in both houses, chairs of the powerful Parliamentary Service Commission, the Public Investment Committee, of which the new standing orders indicate has been split into 3, that is governance and education, and commercial affairs and energy, then lastly, social services, administration, and agriculture, meaning they will have 3 chairpersons in addition to that of the Public Accounts Committee.
And yes, when you work in Parliament, in the committees, it's collegial. Even though you belong to different sides, to government, to majority party, that's what we are calling ourselves, you need to work together as a team.
At the moment, Odinga's ODM leads with 85 members of Parliament, Wiper with 25, and Jubilee with 17 members of Parliament. Odinga using the platform to urge his MPs to remain united, seemingly quelling the foreseeable fallout that might be caused by the scramble for lucrative House leadership slots up for grabs within allied parties in the Azimio wing.
Don't be greedy over positions, because that is where it starts. People now begin to suspect each other. Oh, I wanted this and that. It can only go to one person at a time.
While lashing out at the MPs who switched allegiances from the Azimio side to the Kenya Kwanza side, that they are engaging in a zero-sum game and that they are opening themselves to be used by the executive.
So if you do not bond and become united, you're going to be ruled throughout the life of this parliament.
So we are the largest party in parliament. We therefore deserve to have the majority leader and the majority whip.
Another showdown is expected in the National Assembly and the Senate as the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio One Kenya coalitions scramble for leadership of the watchdog committees, as well as the leader of majority, leader of minority, and the whip, even as the Azimio One Kenya coalition legislators maintain that they have the majority leadership in the National Assembly. Flora Limuki, TV 47, Machakos County.
Now, the reality of hiked fuel prices has begun sinking as a majority of Kenyans have begun feeling the pinch. Now, Zalaki Heriano reports, as the president says, the storm is here to stay, albeit for now.
Kenyans are already feeling the pinch of the hike in fuel prices as the 20 shillings per litre increase in the price of petrol sinks. The hike is now threatening to paralyze the transport sector, with most routes plying from upcountry hiking fares to cater for the hike. The latest to be affected being secondary school students, some of who were stranded in Narok County. Matatu drivers have been forced to park their vehicles and instead look for alternative jobs to earn a living.
Futa imepanda zaidi, magari leo hatuna, wengi wamesimamisha magari zao kwa sababu ya pesa.
At the moment, it will set you apart 700 shillings up from 600 shillings just days ago. Geoffrey Ataja, a driver from Narok Land Sacco, says this is because a round trip cost him 8,000 for fuel up from 6,000.
Sasa lazima nipe pesa ya kutosha ndio gari ipate mafuta. Sasa hii gari kama gari yangu inaenda Kisii rudi, gari inakunywa mafuta 8,000. Sasa sipo lazima niongezea abiria pesa.
At the same time, bodaboda riders also have found themselves in a same condition, saying their customers are now walking due to hiked fares.
Bora ingepaki kwanza mahali iko mafuta ishuke kwa sababu mafuta ndio ina affect kila kitu.
But speaking during the Kenya Kwanza retreat in Naivasha, President William Ruto says Kenyans have to make do with the pain as they look for other way of reducing the cost of fuel other than the subsidy.
That we are not going to be subsidizing consumption. That is why we are going slow on matters to do with subsidizing consumption. We are going to work and support producers. That way, even if we are intervening at that level, it gives us a bigger leverage.
However, Nandi residents in Nakuru are hopeful the new regime will solve the situation, saying President William Ruto is working on measures to reduce the fuel.
Reaction ya wananchi ndio kidogo wataona kana kwamba jambo lile litawaumiza, lakini kidogo tungempa rais wetu nafasi kidogo, aweze kupewa nafasi kidogo, ajipange na serikali yake, ministers wake na mabunge, ili mambo yote yaweze kulainika, sababu jambo haliwezi kufanyika within a fortnight.
Zalaki Heriano reporting for TV 47.
Now, another showdown is expected this Saturday as the Council of Governors elect their chair of their council. Patronila Goren was at the day 2 of the governors' meeting, and here now is her report.
It is a conference that brought together all 47 governors with their deputies to discuss their responsibilities and performance for their 5-year term. Today being the second day, the governors have emphasized on the need for increased financial allocation to facilitate operation in those counties, many expecting President William Ruto to fulfill the promise he made on increasing the funds.
Currently, we are enjoying only 18%, sometimes 15%. And even the president's
party, which I belong to, talked about 35%. The BBI was talking about something like 40 or 50%. This is the time. We are hoping this cannot be an empty promise.
Mbali na ile pesa kuongezwa, pia tulikuwa na tatizo la kuwa counties pesa inachelewa kuja. Kwa mfano kwa sasa hivi pesa ya mwezi wa Julai, mwezi wa August na mwezi wa September inaenda kuisha, bado pesa haijakuja kwa counties. Pia hilo ni swala ambalo tunashirikiana na serikali ya kitaifa sasa hivi ili pesa ziweze kufika mashinani kwa muda unaofaa.
Intense lobbying is underway with just hours to the election of the chair of the Council of Governors. Notable governors seeking to clinch the council's leadership include Anne Waiguru, Joseph Olelenku and Kenneth Lusaka. They face off in yet another battle for numbers, bearing in mind that Kenya Kwanza and Azimio One Kenya coalitions have a close tie of 23 elected governors each. The governors are, however, pushing for consensus contrary to a majority vote. Of the 47 elected governors, 11 retained their seats, 28 assumed office for the first time, and 8 are pioneer governors who recaptured their seats after losing them in the 2017 general election. Also set for election are chairpersons of various subcommittees and the whip. The council holds elections after every 2 years.
National government haitutendee yale yako supposed kutenda. Huyu mtu tumechukua ni mtu anaweza kututetea kweli kwa national government? Hayo ndio mambo tunataka kuangalia.
It's not about Azimio or Kenya Kwanza really. We just want a very mature person that can steer the council to another level. And we will have a consensus. If Kenya Kwanza will present the chairperson, then the other team from Azimio governors will also be able to get a vice chairperson and maybe a whip. So that we don't have a fractured council of governors, but a very united council of governors that is able to articulate the concerns of issues of governance.
President William Ruto is set to attend the conference which ends tomorrow. Patronila Goren for TV47 in Mombasa County.
Away from that, after the launch of the re-engineered National Educational Management Information System by the Ministry of Education, parents in Ogiek County are calling for more awareness on the same, stating that the idea that was intended to be a savior could be the biggest impediment to their children's education. Stanley Nyaringita with more.
The move by the Ministry of Education to re-engineer the National Education Management Information System, Nemis, was meant to harmonize student data management for informed decision-making and planning in the education sector.
Some of the things that will require to be done, one is the pilot system, 2, pilot review, 3, capacity building of the Ministry of Staff Headquarters and field. By capacity building, we have excellent officers in the field.
However, the technological advancements are seemingly taking away joy from a section of parents in far-flung areas that Nemis has become the nemesis of their children's education. In Ogiek County, parents decry that the system is non-inclusive as proper awareness has not been created, especially to parents in pastoralist communities.
Kusema kweli, mambo ya Nemis kama sisi ni wakaji wa Northeastern imetufikia, lakini kama wazazi mambo ya Nemis hatukufafanuliwa zaidi na kujua maanane ya Nemis ina maana gani ama ina nini.
Hussein also notes that poor network coverage makes the already bad situation worse.
Nemis kama sisi ni wazazi, nilikuwa nasikiza mkoa akisema everywhere in this country kuna smartphone. Hatuna smartphone sisi, hata ile simu ile ndogo ile noko ile ndogo watoto wetu hawana ambaye wanaweza kujisaidia nayo.
My name is Ndobe Mazrui. I'm a parent working here in Ogiek County.
Mazui is optimistic that despite the challenges faced by parents from the northern part of the country, the re-engineered system can improve equity in the sector, which has been riddled with claims of inequalities between urban and rural learners. And at a time when parents with learners at grade 6 are selecting junior secondary schools, they fear that their children will be left out.
It will be able to give even the parents the access to information on the kids, and also it will be able to show the parents maybe the education laws, because once a student or a pupil coming from one place to another, it is already in the system and has been captured. So it will be always very good for that.
The 60 billion shillings worth system has not been without its challenges, with outgoing Education CS Professor George Magoha saying there is a working plan to launch a foolproof system to end perennial corruption, especially among schools and administration units. Magoha said Kenyans are currently not getting value for their money, especially under free education, as cartels have infiltrated and re-engineered Nemis.
Be able to be launching a Nemis that is foolproof, that nobody can enter and change figures. Are we together? That will also be somewhere else, so that if you try, for example, I will just give you an abstract figure where, for example, year X, you may find that the number of children where the money was spent was maybe 8.5 million. But the actual number of children who are there are less.
The Nemis system was first introduced in 2017 as a web-based management system to give up-to-date information on education. Stanley Nyuringita, TV 47.
Now, 2 brothers brutally murdered in Nairobi's Kamulu area have been laid to rest in Ndeya village, Kiambu County. And as Elizabeth Atieno now reports, family and friends want a probe into the murder for justice to prevail.
This was the situation Friday afternoon at Joseph Kimani's homestead in Ndeya village, Kiambu County. A cloud of pain, sorrow and sadness engulfed this home as the bodies of Johnson Karuga and his brother Kevin Kimathi arrived for the burial ceremony. Tears flowed freely down the cheeks of family and friends as they watched their coffins, still yet to come to terms with the loss.
Lazima tufuate watoto wetu walikufa. Kwa nini walikufa? Sisi wenyewe tunawajua na hatuwezi sema nini ama nini, but lazima tufuate.
Joseph Kimani, the father to the slain brothers, has since been left with more questions on the death of his sons and has now turned to God for answers through prayers.
Hatuachii hapa, tutaendelea kusisitiza na kabisa kufuatilia ili tupate haki ya hawa watoto. Hawa watoto wameuawa kinyama vibaya sana.
It is alleged that Johnson Karuga, aged 26, and his 24-year-old brother Kevin Kimathi were last seen on the 4th of September at a bar in Nairobi's Kamulu area where they were watching a football match. Their badly mutilated bodies were found a week later near a bridge in Joska area, Nairobi.
Kwa zile ba ambao tunashuku zote walienda, hakuna hata moja inajitokeza kusema hata vijana walikuwa pale. Kwa hivyo uvumi ambao umekuweko, tutasema tu ni uvumi kwa sasa. Manake hata penye mili ilikuwa imetupwa, sisi kama shirika tulitembelea that space ambao hizo bodies zilikuwa dumped. Na hapo that is not the place ambao waliuawa.
Tuwezi sema ati ni mtu, but tumenyimwa haki yetu. Vijana wenye wamefuatana kufa wawili, tunaona watu wamenyimwa haki yao. Why watoto wetu wakufe? Tunataka kujua.
Postmortem results established that the two sustained serious injuries after they were hit by a blunt object, leading to a blood clot. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
May the family find peace and comfort during this time, and of course justice to prevail. Now, the Ogiek minority community in the Rift Valley region is demanding slots in the new government, claiming previous administrations had sidelined them. And as our very own Chichi Josephine now reports, they want a share of state jobs and their own administrative unit or constituency, saying they voted for Kenya Kwanza in the August 9th polls and have high expectations from it.
Led by Ogiek Council of Elders Chairman John Sironga, they want equity, regional balance and fairness as they claimed that the community have been discriminated against since independence.
Sisi tukiwa jamii tuna shida nyingi kwa sababu tumetembea, tumeenda koti, hasa koti ya Afrika, na sisi tumetambuliwa na tunataka aangazie jamii hiyo waweze kupata nchi yao.
They expressed that the attempts by the group to voice their concerns have been unsuccessful, blaming political brokers for what they say is benefiting from their pain.
Juzi wakati wa Jubilee mjumbe wetu ambaye alikuwa ameteuliwa Bwana Victor Bringei alifutwa kazi mara 2 na akakufia kwa Ruto. Hakuna wakati aliamini kumwaga mishahara yake kwa kusimama na Ruto. Kwa hivyo kwa hii uteuzi ambaye yenye iko mbele sasa yenye wanapanga serikali, hakikisha ya kwamba jamii ya Ogiek wawe wamewakilishwa. Tupate uwakilishi kwa sababu ile shida ambaye tumepitia ama saizi tukikaa bila mtu ambaye anaturepresent katika national level tutakuwa na shida.
Among other demands, they want the new government to consider creating a ministry for minority affairs and forming a new constituency specifically for them.
Ni kitu ya maajabu sana kuonekana ya kwamba jamii ya Ogiek hawana sehemu ambayo wanasema ni kwao. Sisi tuko tambaradi. So naomba elected president aweze kutilia maanani jamii ya Ogiek na aweze kutupea sehemu yetu ili ambayo tuwe tukikaa.
The community now wants to meet with President William Ruto and present their grievances directly to him.
Nahitaji yeye kama azala kwa sababu anapenda sisi wote wakaaji wa Kenya tuweze kukanyanga hiyo carpet na anajua shida zetu na ataweza kuitatua hivi karibuni.